is nobody talking about this? Hello and welcome to Drazelleverse Productions. I'm Samantha and I know theory videos aren't exactly what we're known for, but please bear with me. Recently, Nintendo released a video announcing a delay in the release of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel. Series producer Eiji Aonuma, rocking a dashing new haircut, presented the delay by revealing a new 10 seconds or so of footage from the upcoming game. And while I'm excited to see the new footage, and I'm happy to see that Link is mostly in one piece, it made me think about something. But I shouldn't worry too much. One of the bigger names in Zelda theory, like Commonwealth Realm, HMK, Bandit Games, Game Over Jesse, or Hyrule Gamer, is sure to cover it in one of their upcoming theory videos, right? Right? Only none of them did. Did I notice something they didn't? Did I have an original theory? Maybe. Well, dear viewer, I proposed this. If the Master Sword is broken here, so too would the seal on Demise be broken. But how did I come to this conclusion, you ask? Get yourself comfortable because we've got a lot to cover. As we all know, sealing the bad guy to win isn't exactly a new thing to the Zelda franchise. It's fairly common in the series when you think about it. Demise was sealed by the goddess Hylia before the events of Skyward Sword even, the first game in the timeline. How do we know this? Yeah. That. We don't exactly have a timeline on how long Demise was sealed in the sealed grounds, but at this point that's irrelevant. The seal, placed on him by a goddess, mind you, was already starting to break by the beginning of Skyward Sword, hence Link's constant nightmares and Zelda being called to the surface here. Throughout the game, you'll have to face this scaled black eggplant of death multiple times to refresh said seal. Hell, he even grows Lanky Kong's arms, pimple toes, and learns how to freaking fly! What? A large portion of the game's objective is to find the Triforce so you can outright kill the thing so you don't have to see its next magic trick.
I had you looking in the wrong section. How could I be so stupid?
But of course, that doesn't stick for, well, time travel is also a trope of the Zelda franchise, which apparently works in the same rules as the MCU.
Think about it. If you travel to the past, that past becomes your future. And your former present becomes the past, which can't now be changed by your new future.
Exactly.
Well, kind of. There is still this quest where you have to plant a tree in the past so that it'll grow a fruit in your current time that you have to take back in time to give to a sick and dying dragon, so that way he's not dead by the time the game's time frame rolls around. But I digress. It's wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Regardless, Girahim, Demise's right-hand man and sword spirit, like Fi is to Link, swoops in and snags Zelda, spiriting her away to the past to bring Demise back 100 years earlier. Link follows, but doesn't quite make it in time as Demise does in fact return. He and Link face off in a Salar de Uyuni lookalike, a real place used as inspiration for places like the boss room and the final world in Kingdom Hearts. And I'm pretty sure I butchered the name. Sorry about that. And through the power of courage and the perseverance of a hero, the hero of the sky triumphs over Demise, sealing him away in the Master Sword. But not before connecting Link and Zelda's spirits to his hatred for eternity. After replacing the Master Sword in its new pedestal, Fi makes comment about Demise's residual consciousness fading into the blade, severely weakened, but still alive, as Fi too takes her rest in the Master Sword to keep the ancient Demon King at bay. The next time we see someone get sealed away is in the Minish Cap, which I have regrettably not had the chance to experience myself, because, unfortunately, I am poor. But thanks to the wonderful Zelda theorists out there, I know that after taking his final form, the villain of the game, Vati, is sealed away in the magical Four Sword, never to be seen again. We see him again in Four Swords, where he breaks the seal, but in the end winds up sealed right back in the same sword that held him before. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, maybe I should have seen this coming. Jump ahead to a game I'm all too familiar with, the Ocarina of Time. This game is not only the game that I started this channel with, but it's also the debut of Ganondorf, the Demon King and reincarnation of Demise's hatred as stated in the being's curse. In this game, the hero of time faces off against the new Demon King after gaining allies in the Seven Sages and the Princess, who is present for the fight. As we all know, this is where the infamous timeline split takes place based on the outcomes of this great battle. It is possible that Link had fallen to his wounds in this battle, leading to the downfall timeline and Ganon collecting the complete Triforce. But why could this even happen? Easy. The fight was difficult for the hero of time. Relieved of his only effective weapon at the start of the fight, and even when he does recover the Master Sword, he stabs Ganon in the frickin' face and the man just doesn't die! Only by the intervention of Zelda and the Seven Sages does Ganondorf finally taste defeat in the form of being sealed in the Sacred Realm with no hope of returning.
Or so you'd think, if you didn't know a thing about merchandising.
Ganondorf would, of course, curse the hero of time and Princess Zelda with his last breath of freedom as his world faded to white. Are you following me so far? Good, because there's more. Admittedly, I don't really have that much familiarity with the Fallen timeline, as it held the Zelda games that I found too challenging or too boring to complete. I'm sure I'll catch them in their HD releases, right, Nintendo? Right? But I have done a fair bit of research into the Fallen timeline's lore. Breaking off of his victory against the hero of time, Ganon took the completed Triforce for himself and turned the Sacred Realm into the Dark World, amassing a following to take Hyrule by force. But by the order of the royal bloodline, as the King of Hyrule was killed by Ganondorf himself 7 years prior, the Seven Sages sealed Ganon into his own Dark World. But the seal didn't hold very tight, as Ganon was able to project a piece of himself into Hyrule in the form of the wizard Aghanim and break the seal, keeping him at bay. Enter A Link to the Past. I know a little bit about this one. I haven't beaten it, but I know a little bit about this one. Link awakes from a nightmare to find the kingdom in danger, adventuring forth to save the seven maidens from the fell wizard, just to discover it was Ganon. At the end of the game, Ganon is dealt a killing blow. All is restored and seems well and good. The Triforce once again returned to the hands of the royal family. A few more adventures pass for our hero, and in Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages, Ganon is once again revived by his surrogate mothers, Koume and Kotake, as a mindless beast, but is once again dealt with swiftly by the same Link who bested him before. It seemed that Link had killed the beast, but in A Link Between Worlds, we learned that specific mindless beast had somehow, shockingly, been sealed away in Lorule, Hyrule's darker counterpart. Hilda, the Lorulian counterpart of Zelda, used her minion Yuga to collect the Seven Sages in this timeline and break whatever seal had been placed on Ganon, merging him with Yuga to restore his mental faculties and make this version of Ganon more than just a mindless beast. This backfires, however, as Ganon, as he started calling himself, turns on Hilda, takes Zelda's Triforce of Wisdom, and turns on Link to complete the set. However, once again, the hero defeats the villain, even establishing peace between Hyrule and Lorule by restoring the Lorulian Triforce. But yes, once again, it is implied that this version of Ganon is killed, much like the last few times. All of the references I could find to Ganon in the Fallen timeline are of deaths and resurrections, which is not all that relevant to my theory. So instead, I'm going to skip ahead to the adult timeline, where Link won and Zelda, with the help of the Seven Sages, sealed Ganondorf away to the Sacred Realm. Following this act, Zelda, with the Ocarina of Time, sends the hero of time back to relive his childhood, which, let's be honest, may have lost her kingdom and doomed the kingdom of the past, but once again I digress. As told in the beginning of Wind Waker, Ganondorf broke free of his imprisonment and once again set his evil and malice onto the kingdom. The people cried out for a savior, for the hero of time to come and rescue them from this ruthless calamity. See what I did there? Yeah, it's calamity again. It's funny. But as Zelda had already returned Link to his childhood, there was no hero to save the people. And so, to protect the people, the goddesses flooded Hyrule. Later on, another hero would rise all on his own to take his place among the heroes of legend. And with the help of Zelda, the hero of the winds once again bested Ganondorf, who was dealt a fatal blow to his forehead by the legendary Master Sword. This is the last time we see Ganondorf appear in this timeline. And in regards to Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, I believe the antagonists of these games' minions were trying to resurrect their masters, so this has nothing to do with breaking seals or sealing away darkness. So we're just going to go ahead and jump to the next timeline. In the child timeline, where the hero of time was sent back to, he preemptively warns the royal family of Ganondorf's treason with the Triforce of Courage as his proof. At that time, Link leaves the kingdom to wind up in Termina, but that isn't our focus today. In his absence, or maybe even after his return, Hyrule went to war and eventually captured the mighty Demon King, set to execute him. However, the sages carrying out the execution were not made aware of Link's time travel do-over, in which he would have had to open the door of time in his timeline early just to leave the pedestal chamber. Due to his return, once again the Triforce was split, going to the individuals who held the pieces in another time. Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf. Using the Triforce of Power to stave off his own death, Ganondorf took the sword from his botched execution and killed the Sage of Water, not that one, leading the remaining sages to... Can you guess? It's okay. I can wait. That's right. Seal Ganondorf away in the Twilight Realm using the Mirror of Twilight. But they just can't seem to learn their lesson, as Ganondorf indeed gains power in this realm over time and finds a way to break his seal and return to Hyrule through his puppet, a Twilly servant by the name of Zant. Face to face with yet another hero wearing Link's face, Ganondorf of course faces down this new hero, the hero of Twilight, and much like the variants of other timelines, Ganondorf finds himself on the wrong end of a killing blow from the Master Sword. I mean, the guy dies on his freaking feet! Dude's a badass! Fast forward to Four Swords Adventures. After all this time of Vati being sealed inside the Four Sword, a reincarnated Ganondorf, who is not the same as this guy, tricked the Link in this time into drawing the Four Sword, breaking the seal on the sword and setting the trickster free on the kingdom once again. So a new Link had to embark on another epic journey to defeat not only Vati, but also the elusive Ganondorf as well. In time, Link used the Four Sword to defeat Vati once and for all, only to have Ganondorf show up. This Ganondorf had already transformed into Beast Ganon, who was swiftly defeated by Link in the Four Sword. Wait, let me double check that. Yeah, the Four Sword. Instead of killing the reincarnated Demon King, however, Ganondorf was sealed into the Four Sword like Vati before him, the sword returning to the pedestal to rest. Which brings me to Breath of the Wild. No doubt by this point we're on the same page as far as the theory goes, but humor me a little longer. For some reason, the hero and the princess continue to seal the power of Ganon and his malice via the princess's special sealing powers, which looks a lot like the Triforce if you ask me, which never holds for very long. Even at the end of Breath of the Wild, after the hero of the Wild encounters the Calamity, Zelda seals the Malice Phantom of Ganon once again. And even when it comes to what we know about the sequel, it would appear that some form of magic is sealing Mummydorf in place until those meddling kids come snooping.
I would have gotten away with it too, if not for your meddling son.
I hope you're seeing the same pattern I'm seeing. As sealing evil has become a staple of the franchise, so too has the power of evil breaking those seals, without fail. Well, except one. Demise, within the Master Sword. As we have seen in this franchise, sealing an entity does not kill them. Even though Fai does make a comment about Demise's residual consciousness fading into the Master Sword, as stated before, that does not mean that Demise is dead, just weakened. and essentially sleeping, building his strength, but kept in check by Fi. Another thing to keep in mind is that Ganondorf isn't a straight reincarnation of Demise. He's a reincarnation of Demise's hatred. Very important distinction, this. So in theory, if the Master Sword is broken, wouldn't the seal on Demise suppressing his power also be broken? If you ask me, I'd have to say yes. If releasing Vati in Four Swords Adventures just took Link drawing the Four Sword from the pedestal, then I'm positive that breaking the sword would also break the seal. And if the seal is broken and Demise is free, then what is his role? What is Ganondorf's? And will Link and Zelda survive the onslaught of 2 Demon Kings? These questions linger as we wait for the new release, but one way or another, if everything the lore is pointing towards is true, and Demise is sharing screen time with Ganondorf, we can only imagine what lies ahead for the hero of the wilds and Princess Zelda, not to mention what is to become of Demise's curse. But we'll all find out in the spring of 2023. So what'd you think of my theory? Did you agree with me, or do you have a way of disproving my theory? Feel free to post in the comments and let me know. And if you like what you saw, then like, subscribe, and ring that bell, and I might just do more theory videos in the future. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget your self-care, keep theorizing, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, have a good one.